Good evening. Welcome back to Inside the Helmet. It's another incredible Wednesday evening, and so we thank you for joining us here. If you are this evening, my name is Michael. My dad is here as well.
Howdy.
And last week, if you caught the show, then you know that we talked about offensive linemen because we feel that usually in football, when you're watching a game, most of the attention follows the ball, which makes sense. But that means that the big boys up front on the line of scrimmage, the offensive and defensive linemen, rarely get as much screen time and as much attention. And they're not talked about as much as the skill players that normally end up making the big highlight plays. So last week, like I said, we paid more attention and talked a little bit about offensive line. Now, today we're going to talk about, in our opening segment, defensive line. So if you want to take it away.
Yeah, I think defensive line is one of those things that the average fan, they notice them when they make a sack or a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. But the thing is, on most plays, the defensive linemen get blocked.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, I mean, their success rate for pressuring the quarterback or
Mm-hmm.
making a tackle behind the line is not very high.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of focus is put with the five offensive linemen and the tight end on getting those guys blocked. You'll
Mm-hmm.
see on pretty much any team, the leading tackler is either going to be one of the linebackers or one
Mm-hmm.
of the safeties. So, but these guys, first of all, let's talk about, just for simplicity's sake, the difference between defensive linemen, because they're
Mm-hmm.
not all built the same, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So one misconception that people may have, this is also kind of true for offensive line, um, but I think it's more drastic. What do you say for defensive line? The difference in size and kind of archetype that you ideally want your player to be, whether they're on the interior of the defensive line versus the exterior.
Yeah,
Is that fair
closer
to
to the
say?
ball, the closer to the ball you line up, the bigger you need to be.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the middle, whether you run a 3 down lineman or a 4 down lineman set, your interior defensive linemen, you want them to be like big, round, take up a lot of space type of guys who can plug that gap. They're
Yeah,
going to be hard to block and hard to move out of the way. And if the running back's trying to go where they are, they're not going to get through them.
and these are generally the slowest guys on the team
Yes.
because they're heavy and they're
Mm-hmm.
built like a refrigerator, and
Mm-hmm.
they're defensive tackles or nose tackles,
Yeah.
and
These are your big, like, 350 guys.
yeah, we're not expecting them to run over to the sideline
No.
and make a tackle and chase down a running back.
No.
They are there to plug a gap. If you want to think about the way a goalie kind of blocks
Mm-hmm.
in hockey, the net,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
you want them to take up as much space and be as hard to move. And what's harder to move than heavier weight?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they're not athletic. I mean,
Certainly.
they clearly have to have athletic skills. You don't,
Obviously, if you're in high level college football or certainly the NFL, you are athletic whether you look like it or not.
yeah. I mean, otherwise you just find the biggest 500-pound dude and put him out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if he can't move his feet at all,
Yeah.
he's not going to be much use.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first thing on defense that you have to stop is
Mm-hmm.
the run straight up the middle. I mean, for example, if you took a pretty good high school team and lined them up against a middle school team, the size differential,
Mm-hmm.
all they would have to do would be just hand the ball to the running back and just push everybody backwards, and they could just run straight up the middle all
Mm-hmm.
game long and make
Yeah.
first downs.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be able to stop that, and so that's where your defensive tackles and nose tackles make that difficult, so that the offense then has to say, okay, if we're going to run the ball, we have to find a way to get out on the edge away from those big guys, or maybe do some type of a misdirection or a draw play or something to
Mhm.
get the guys stepping in a way that's going to take them out of the play. So
Exactly.
so yeah, see your interior guys, the closer you are to the ball, the bigger
Hmm.
you're going to be.
Yeah.
Now, when you start getting away from the ball, your defensive ends,
Hmm.
we don't want them to be 350 pounds
Exactly,
because,
because typically they're, setting the edge. They're preventing, say, a run from bouncing outside or going outside if it was designed to, but also you're preventing the quarterback from being able to extend the play and move the pocket or even do a designed rollout.
yeah, I mean, on a running play, if their responsibility is to set the edge and they see the ball's going to run around their side,
Mm.
they have to be able to sprint, not as fast as the running back, but
Of course.
enough to cut off the angle and make it difficult for that running back to get around the corner. And of course,
Yep.
on a pass play, the defensive ends, that's what they love to do the most, is, as they say, pin their ears back and do everything that they can to try to get back to the quarterback and get him on the ground before he can make the throw. Or if they don't quite get there, if they're one step away, they can, kind of put a hit on the quarterback at least.
Yeah.
And so they got to have speed.
Hmm.
And so there's different techniques that defensive linemen use. We'll kind of start with the interior guys. Uh, they're the guys with the big stomachs and everything, and so they don't have the fancy footwork. Essentially, we talked last week about the A gap and the B gap, um, uh, from the ball, going outward, and essentially they have to protect the A and the B gaps and have some type of coordination of which gap uh, they're going to. When I'm coaching, I tell, we run three defensive linemen, and so I tell my nose tackle, I want you to plug the A gap either on the left side or the right side of the ball, and I want you to mix it up. I don't want you to be predictable and try to plug the same gap every time.
Hmm.
So uh, at the snap of the ball, these guys are charging forward, if you're a nose tackle, either to the gap to the left of the center or to the right of the center. And you're putting your shoulders down, you're trying to stay low and just kind of get penetration. Um,
Hmm.
you're not really asked to change direction or anything because that's not your game. With
Yeah.
a defensive lineman, they have much more to think about regarding whether it's a pass or a run. Your defensive tackles and nose tackles are never going to lead the team in sacks because there's too
Yeah.
much traffic in there. But
Exactly.
a really good defensive lineman who knows how to get around or through or under or over the person that's blocking them, if they can do that quickly, then they've got a chance to get back and sack the quarterback. So I wanted to talk about a couple of different maneuvers. I remember a time when you were playing youth football and they made you go both ways because you were big, because you were tall. You would play quarterback on offense, which is a glamour position, and on defense, they would put you on the defensive line.
Hmm. And
So
that's something I actually grew to enjoy doing because, well, I'm not exactly the most mobile type of quarterback, and so um, I remember in middle school they also trained us for both ways because it's still young and developing, and finding your footing and where you belong on a football field. So they would train us pretty equally for both offense and defense, and they would have me doing drills at linebacker and at safety because
yeah,
those are typically what a quarterback would play. But
sure.
that's not what I'm built for. I
Yeah,
would like
I
to be,
remember
but
watching you try to do that. And you looked really uncomfortable.
so I was actually more comfortable being on the defensive line than anything else on defense.
Yeah. So, for those who don't know, the defensive
Hmm.
linemen, and we're specifically talking about the defensive ends, the faster ones.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just do the same thing on every play. They actually have different techniques that they work on,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find a way to get around the person that's blocking them.
Mm-hmm.
If they can fool them and make that blocker take a false step, then maybe it gives them an advantage. So I wanted to talk about a couple of basic techniques.
Sure.
Um, the very first one, of course, is the simple bull, what they call a bull rush.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and tell us what a basic bull rush is, and
Sure. So
when you would use it.
I assume you want me to demonstrate some of these.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, good thing I have a chair that I can demonstrate on. So let's act like the back of my chair here is the chest of my offensive lineman opponent here. I want to knock over my Coke here. Um,
He's much shorter than you.
well, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so with the bull rush, it is as simple as it gets. You are putting your hands on your opponent and just trying to push them the direction that you're trying to go. You're trying to overpower them and get them on their heels and get past them by going through them.
And when would that be effective?
It's maybe the most versatile, but also kind of the lowest risk, lowest reward of them all, I would say.
Okay, but I mean, like if you lined up against somebody that was twice
Mhm.
your size, would you try and bull rush them?
No, oh no, certainly not. This is most effective when you have a size and or strength advantage over your opponent.
Right. And when you bull rush, is it just blindly pushing this guy back as far as you can, or are there bull rushes where you might bull rush for two or three steps and read the play and then try to shed the block?
I mean, you're always trying to read the play and see where the ball is going. I mean, if I'm bull rushing a lineman and say I'm on like my right side of the defensive line from viewing from the defensive perspective and the ball is coming around this side, obviously I'm not going to stay engaged with my lineman here. I'm going to break off, maybe using a different technique and chase after the ball
There
and
you
try
go.
and get them.
Okay.
I'm not just going to let the ball run right past me because I'm dancing.
Okay. I know another move that they taught you when you were defensive line
Mm-hmm.
is what they call a rip move. If you can go back in time and remember, uh, and then the next one I'm going to
Yeah,
have you ask you about is the swim move.
I was going
So,
to say those are fairly similar to one another from what I remember. Now I'm a quarterback, so for any defensive line out there watching this, um, hold your comments. Um, So the rip move, from what I'm remembering, is where you with the rip and the swim move. They're both ways of trying to get around your opponent. Whereas with the bull rush, you're just trying to go through them, essentially.
right.
So with the rip move, the reason why it's named that is because you essentially put your arm on the side, like the shoulder of your opponent, typically the outside shoulder. Um, and you rip because they're going to have their arms, say now on the offensive lineman, they're going to have their arms trying to block you. You know, and so you're trying to rip through their arms and break that grip they have on you while pushing them away to get them
Yeah.
to
There's
lose
an
their grip
uppercut.
and
There's an
lose their ability
uppercut.
to control you.
There's an uppercut move that you do with your arms with a
Mm-hmm.
rip move. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, and one of
And
the
then,
things to add into this is
mhm.
that at all levels of football, if you know had received good coaching, they always talk about, other than maybe the bull rush, you're trying to take on half a man.
Mm-hmm.
Explain and kind of tell us what that's about.
Yeah, so typically, especially if you're a defensive end, going against an offensive tackle. The offensive tackle is probably going to be a couple inches taller than you and outweigh you by maybe 40 pounds at least. But they're going to be a lot slower,
Yeah,
is the trade off. So you recognize that it's not wise for you to just try and outmuscle the entire man because he's just bigger than you and stronger, but he's not as mobile. And so what you're trying to do is catch him off balance and not have to take on his full strength by only attacking one side of him, not
Right.
try and face him head up. You're trying to take on him at an angle where you can use your full strength against half of his.
So in theory, if you're a 270-pound defensive end
Mm-hmm.
and you're up against a 300-pound offensive tackle,
You're trying to take
if
on
you can,
150 pounds of them or so.
yeah, if you can put your 270 pounds up against half of his weight, half of his body,
Mm-hmm.
150 pounds, then you stand a chance of maybe achieving what you set out to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's strategies that are
Mm-hmm.
involved in that too.
And to show
Um,
the swim move before we like forget about it.
yeah. Yeah. Swim move.
So with the rip move, you're going under like this. With the swim move, you're trying to go over, and you look
Yeah.
like you're swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it has a name to it, but in youth football, there's not as much time to practice techniques, and there's, by the way,
Mhm.
there's also footwork that's involved with
Certainly.
all of these moves.
I don't
But
have a foot camera, so you're not
yeah,
getting.
no, that's okay. I mean, that's what these guys work on day after day after day, trying to perfect this,
Mm-hmm.
because the what happens in the first 1 second after the ball snaps a lot of times will determine whether the defensive lineman is going to be able to beat the offensive lineman. You know,
Mm-hmm.
getting that quick first step and getting to the spot before the other guy does, and then you have leverage. But one of the things that I've tried to teach my nose tackles, in addition to picking which A gap they want to go through, is if you go through with your shoulders square, you're giving a big target to block.
Mm-hmm.
And in youth football, I've encouraged my young nose tackles um, to turn their shoulders as they're going through, and it makes them half the size, giving half as much mass for people to block.
Because you also have to remember that offensive linemen have certain rules when it comes to how they go about blocking an opponent. And so, by angling your body a certain way, you can cut off not only just your whole body to them, but the parts of your body that they're allowed to try and grab onto. And also, you make it more difficult for them to grab onto you legally.
Right. Now, also with the really elite pass rushers, and I mean, I hate to say the name Micah Parsons because he betrayed our beloved Cowboys, but they always talked about his bend, how he's got just remarkable bend. What are they talking about with that? He's got great bend.
Well, I mean, as a defensive lineman, part of your main priority is making sure that you don't get blocked, obviously. And so you need to keep your opponent's hands off of you so you can get around them. And so by saying that he has great bend, they're essentially saying that he has great ability to contort himself and avoid being blocked.
Yeah,
See?
and still keep his speed and
Exactly.
momentum going in the direction that he wants. It there is. I love that they use the word contort because
Hmm.
they really do have to sprint with their body contorted at a weird
Hmm.
angle and remain under control and keep their eyes on the ball and where it's going. And
Yep.
it's a very elite skill that takes, it not only years to develop, but I think you've got to have some God-given ability and flexibility
Certainly.
in order to do that. And
Hmm.
that's why the elite pass rushers uh, get paid so much money in the
Hmm.
NFL, and also why they're so hard to find. Um,
Hmm.
because you could have all these skills at the college level, but if you are one step slower in the NFL because your competition is faster, then what worked for you in college is not going to work in the NFL.
Certainly.
And so then we talk about, in addition to the individual stuff, last week we talked about how the offensive lineman is, there's five of them, and it's kind of like a glove. All of your fingers have to be coordinated and doing the same thing. And if one of them messes up, then the play is probably ruined. The
Mm,
defensive line have to communicate as well,
they do.
because they don't always get blocked one on one from the person
Hmm.
in front of them. Sometimes they have guys coming from the side that they never see, and sometimes they can do. If we start talking about things like twists and stunts and things with the defensive line, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so last week we talked about how the offensive line can come up with schemes where you have one lineman pulling, like say you have your left guard and right guard, instead of just going straight on with the man in front of them, you have one of them pulling to create a running lane. Well, defensive linemen have a very similar principle where they have stunts that they can do. Obviously you have different plays where you say, okay, I'm gonna go, we're all slanting to this way or slanting this way or going straight on, what have you. But you have certain times where you essentially employ the same principle as a pull, where you're trying to catch your opponent off guard by hitting them at an angle that they're not expecting from a person they're not expecting to be coming at you. Where, say, you have three down linemen, and you're saying, okay, my nose tackle and my defensive end here, we're gonna cross. So like the nose tackle is gonna go to like the offensive tackle or whoever, and then the defensive end is going to cross over and take on the guard. And the offensive line's not necessarily expecting this, and so that catches them off guard and gives the defensive lineman an easier path to win their matchups.
And in addition to that, sometimes the defensive play would involve it could be a linebacker blitz, it could be a safety blitz,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a corner blitz. I mean, you
Certainly.
bring from anywhere, and the defensive line have to know that that blitz is
Mm-hmm.
coming,
Exactly.
and why they're doing it. It's not only what to do, but it's why are we doing this? Because they're trying to free up somebody
Mm-hmm.
to get an unblocked run into the backfield
Mm-hmm.
to make a tackle on a running back in the backfield, or a quarterback before they can throw. So why don't defenses do that on every play? Why don't they blitz on every play?
I think because then it would be too predictable. That's the
And
same as why doesn't the offense just throw deep on every play? Well, because then the defense would know what's coming and know how to stop it.
what happens if the defense guesses wrong?
Then it's a massive victory for their opponent.
Yeah, I mean, like you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about slants, which I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
brought up yet. Sometimes, based upon what the offense has been doing and what you've seen on film and how they come out to line up, you think, okay, they're going to run a sweep. They're going to hand the ball to the running back. He's going to run
Mm-hmm.
around to let's say, the right side.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you happen to be slanting your defensive line in that direction, you got a
Mm-hmm.
better chance of shutting it down. But if you
Yeah.
guess wrong and you slant in the
Mm-hmm.
opposite direction, you are running at the snap in that first 1 second. You've got all of your defenders taking a bad step in the bad direction. So now, in order to make up for the bad step, they're
You have to
two steps
overcorrect.
behind.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so defense is, there's a lot of things going on and a lot of communication
Oh yeah.
that happens. Uh, I mean, we're focusing on defensive line, but they're really in coordination with the linebackers and trying to kind of predict. Uh, Defensive coordinators, I know, stay up in the higher levels, stay up late nights
Mm-hmm.
watching what does this team like to do on third down and 7 yards to go. What's their favorite five plays, and what formations do they come out in, and trying. It's a chess game.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said I love the X's and O's of the game, because as much as football is a collision sport and a gritty, dirty, sweaty, muscle, all of that, there's a lot of chess that's being played in a very quick amount of time
Oh yeah.
between the last play and the next play.
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's always trying to fool each other. And I think that there are guys. The first one that comes to mind to me is one of the old Cowboys who wound up winning a Super Bowl with the Broncos. But when DeMarcus Ware was with the Cowboys, he was a defensive end. He didn't have the bend of Micah Parsons or the speed. He was a little bit bigger. He was still a big fast guy, but he just had that knack, like some offensive players we talked about. When the game was on the line, the other team's trying to drive and get the winning touchdown, he would come up with a big sack in 2 minutes to go in the game. And there's some guys that they've got that extra gear, they've got that extra. It's almost like a racehorse who knows how to close. You know, when the offensive line gets tired in the game, especially if they've been pass blocking. Should have mentioned that last week too. Offensive linemen love to run the ball because they fire off the ball and they're using their quad muscles and their hamstrings, and they're putting their weight going forward. Uh, if they're pass blocking a lot, in especially late in the game in the fourth quarter, pass blocking, think about it, you're trying not to backpedal, but you're trying to protect your quarterback. It takes a lot more energy to do that, and that's why sometimes you will see, as the game progresses and you get deeper into the game, you'll get these sacks because the defensive linemen are going forward, and it's a lot easier to run forward than it is to try to keep someone from running forward. So, anyway, I didn't think we would have quite that much to say about
Yeah, me either.
defensive line play, but
Hmm.
it's I can tell you this: I've seen Super Bowls won by the defensive line, particularly
Super Bowl
the
50.
well, I was thinking of the Eli Manning Super Bowls.
That
Um,
too.
Not that he's not, worthy of being a Hall of Fame quarterback, but
Hmm.
their defense was just dominant. Especially their first Super Bowl that they won against the Patriots. They had studs across that defensive line, and the Patriots just couldn't handle it. And if you ask me if I could have one elite unit on a football team, it would be tempting to say offensive line because then pretty much your quarterback has all the time to throw and your running back has room to run. But I think that I've seen more games won by defensive line penetrating into the backfield. The offense can't get anything going. And when the offense can't get anything going, then their defense gets frustrated.
Hmm.
They're making stops and they're going, we're not scoring any points here, and so they lose a little bit of motivation. So yeah, tonight's about celebrating those defensive linemen who get down
Yep.
there in the trenches. There's one last thing I'm going to say about both offensive and defensive line.
Sure.
Sometimes you'll see them with these braces on their knees, and it's not necessarily because they have injured a knee. It is because there is a hidden danger down there in the trenches. You got really big bodies flying around, and some of those bodies are being knocked off their feet. And sometimes when those big bodies get knocked off their feet, they fall into the legs of teammates or opponents. And
Yep.
I don't care how big and strong you are, that knee joint can only just take so many pounds of pressure.
Hmm.
And so those braces, when you see those guys wearing that, they're trying to prevent the knee from bending in a way that's going to injure the player if one of those big boys happens to fall on it. So, all
Exactly.
right. Okay. Enough said about the defensive line tonight.
Hmm.
What is going on in the F1 racing world?
Is race week again. We had 3 weeks off after Miami. So it is our second race in the last like 2 months or so, just about. It almost feels like the off season. Um, we're in Canada this time. Kenny Antonelli still going strong. Um, there is outside of F1, but still F1 adjacent because Max Verstappen related. He recently participated with his own personal uh, racing team, Verstappen Racing. I know, very creative. at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, which is an endurance race. He was competing in the highest class that you can compete in, because in these endurance races, they have like different classes of cars all racing simultaneously. And so you have like essentially like three different races going on at once, um, which is really interesting. And but it was a 24-hour race, and so obviously you're not going to have one guy drive the car for 24 hours straight. That's ridiculous and unsafe. And so they have like stints that they drive in, and it seemed like every time Max was in the car, it was like, okay, Max is leading by like 30 seconds. And then as soon as one of his teammates gets in the car, like he'd still do well, but it's like, well, shoot, he's lost the lead. Um, but then unfortunately, 20 and a half hours in, the drive shaft or something broke. And so they, went from what would have been an easy win to unfortunately not being able to finish the race. Other than that, not a ton of stuff going on, obviously, yet, just because we're leading up to a race. We haven't had the race yet. Um, the only other thing is that F1, the F1 video game, have announced finally their trailer for not a new video game entirely, but it's a $30 DLC that essentially gives you access to the new 2026 cars and season and all that. It's like an add-on. The dogs are really excited for that. Um, but it's basically an add-on for the existing F125 game while they're like kind of rebuilding from the ground up for 2027. So, and it honestly, I'm a little underwhelmed. I really hope there's more to it than just, okay, great, we have a roster update and the new cars and the new schedule with the new track in Madrid. I hope there's a little bit more to it, at least just more to do. Um, but we'll just have to see, I guess. But that comes out in early June, so looking forward to that. And Forza Horizon 6 is out. That's racing related. I've been having a lot of fun with that.
Sorry about the dog barking. The grocery delivery just arrived, and they were bringing more dog food.
Oh boy,
the dogs are excited. They recognize
mm-hmm.
the big bag of dog food. It's like, oh, happy. Just out of curiosity, because I don't know this. The F1 season. When does it begin and when does it end?
First race for the last however many years, as long as I've been aware, has been in early March for the beginning, and the last race is in early December.
Okay, so it essentially starts about the time that they start spring training for baseball, and ends just about the time that the college regular football season ends.
More or less, yeah. And then there's
And how many races are there? And do the main drivers like Max Verstappen, do they enter every race or do they pick and choose?
They do every race. There's 24 races this season, which is 24 is the most they've ever done. They did 24 races last year and maybe the year before. Well, actually, technically, they're only doing 22 this year because they obviously canceled Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, but there were originally 24 races scheduled. However, if you look back, a decade ago, you'd see, okay, 18 to 20 races on the calendar. So they are still expanding and growing, which I think 24 races is about the limit to what they should do. Just
Yeah, they got to fit it into 9 months, so that's
exactly.
like three races roughly per month.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, all the drivers take part in every race because unlike the old days, where actually if you look back past like 35 years ago, the way the point system was structured, not every result actually would count to your final points total. Say you had a like 16 race long season, only your best 11 finishes would count.
So how many drivers are there then?
There are 11 teams right now with the addition of Cadillac this year, and each team can field 2 drivers at a time, and so there's 22 cars on the track at any point in time.
Okay. Well, I
But
guess
each team does have their like reserve drivers and stuff like that, just in case. Like, okay, get around to Saturday, and oh, sorry guys, I'm sick.
right.
I got food poisoning,
Yeah,
or
it's
oh,
like the
I had a crash and
understudy
got
in
too many
a
penalty
play.
points and got suspended.
They
So
have understudies essentially, like what they
pretty
do
much,
in a play. Yeah,
yeah.
for the just in
Mhm.
case. Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
Um, okay. So last week, for our final segment, we just kind of dreamed it up on the spot. Um, I was naming NFL players, famous NFL players, and saying, "Give me an F1 driver that kind of fits that same
Mm-hmm.
story, that same profile." And
Yeah.
just for fun, this week we're going to reverse it. So you're going to pick 5 different F1 drivers.
Okay.
Tell me their story, and I'm going to see if I can come up with an NFL player
Mhm.
who's kind of had the same path, albeit in a different sport.
Sure. So first off, I want the NFL equivalent of Lando Norris. Lando Norris was someone who entered Formula One at a decently young age. Back in 2019, he joined as a trio with George Russell and Alex Albon, who are kind of seen as 3 of the best like rookie class of all time. They all did very well to finish first, second, and third in Formula Two the year before, with George Russell having won it. And Lando what had always been seen for the first several years of his career as like a young and very promising driver who just hadn't been able to put it all together yet, either had bad luck or a lackluster car, but then finally was able to start putting it together in 2024, got his first win and everything, and then did have what would end up being the constructors champion winning car in 2024, but was not able to fully capitalize on it, and kind of started digging himself in a PR hole. And a lot of people started not liking him because he was annoying and immature. And then in 2025, he was just inevitable, frankly. Like he had the car. He honestly underperformed what a better driver would have done, but he was able to put together a championship.
Okay. Um, so here's the thing.
Mhm.
I might need to expand this beyond just the
Sure.
NFL
I have
because,
my equivalent if you'd also like to hear that afterwards.
yeah, I would. But in the NFL, there's not too many stories of guys who come in with all the big expectations
Mhm.
and people are disappointed in them. And then somewhere down the line, they put it all together. I mean, the the only NFL player, and it's not exactly equivalent because he's not annoying. I think about Sam Darnold,
Okay.
um, who was high draft pick, um, disappointed because he got drafted by the Jets, and they're a horrible
Mhm.
team, and he just won a Super Bowl. So I mean,
Mhm.
it does happen where guys put it together later in their career. I think. I think if I can expand and also take the liberty of including NBA players, um, you're describing kind of makes me think of Kobe Bryant, um,
Oh.
because Kobe came in with a lot of hoopla,
Mhm.
and whenever the game was on the line, Kobe's the new toy on the Lakers, a big high profile championship franchise, and they would give Kobe the ball for the last shot. And for his first season and a half, he like would just miss those game winning shots. And but the good thing is there was a champion inside of Kobe, as we all know. He won 5 championships and he did put it together And it was, I think what triggered my thought of Kobe was that it seemed inevitable that this guy, he was so driven that he was going to figure it out, even though and he became a champion, even though
Mhm.
early on he was disappointing. Who was your NFL that you were thinking
I was
equivalent?
going to say Jalen Hurts because Jalen
Uh,
Hurts
I don't know if the
came in. I mean, he
expectations were
came
that
in
high.
with the 2020 class,
Yeah.
which has also seen high-profile quarterbacks like Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. So they have that
Mhm.
parallel where they came in with a pretty stacked rookie class.
Yeah.
He showed promise and potential, but dropped the ball early on in his career. But then had a shot at the championship, but ultimately failed to prevail before then putting it all together not long after and taking a championship. And
It's got a lot of pieces.
I'm not a whole lot of a fan of
Well,
him.
he's also, I know he's the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, so
Hmm.
I
Exactly.
can't root for him because of
And
that. But
but their like head coaches are insufferable. Zach Brown, being the CEO
yeah,
of McLaren, is insufferable, and so is Nick Sirianni.
one of the differences is I followed Jalen Hurts since his days at Alabama,
Hmm.
and I was always impressed by when he got replaced by Tua Tagovailoa and had to transfer. He had to be the one to transfer out. I thought he really handled that with class
Hmm.
and a lot of dignity, and he was never annoying or anything like that. I wish he was the quarterback of someone other than the Philadelphia Eagles. I could root more for him,
Yeah.
but as a guy,
Hmm.
he doesn't fit the profile of being annoying or anything like that. He's a good guy, and when a couple of years ago when he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, as a Cowboy fan, I
Hmm.
was of course not happy the Eagles won a Super Bowl,
Yeah.
but I was personally happy for him because he's a good guy.
Okay.
Okay, give me the second one.
All right. Second one's going to be Fernando Alonso, the oldest driver currently on the Formula One grid. He is a two-time champion, although both of those championships came when I was in diapers in 2005 and 6 consecutively. After that, he had a couple turbulent years where he ran into being teammates with a rookie Lewis Hamilton and had some infighting that stopped him from being able to potentially win the championship in 2007, 2008. He 2008 and 9 he wasn't really in the best car that really had a chance, although he was still, fighting for wins and being a truly great driver. And then from 2010 to 2013 or so, when Sebastian Vettel was winning his championships, Fernando Alonso was the biggest misser outer. That's not a word, but you get what I mean. He was the one who missed out the most due to Sebastian Vettel being at the top. He came second very narrowly to Vettel twice in 2010 and 2012,
Okay.
just narrowly missing out. And honestly, Fernando Alonso's career post 2006 has honestly just been a story of ill-timed decisions.
Okay.
He left Ferrari just after they were going to really start getting good, and Sebastian Vettel actually moved there from Red Bull and started challenging Lewis Hamilton a couple years for the championship, although he was never able to win, while Fernando Alonso was off in McLaren when they were in one of their worst eras in team history. And then he
Okay.
retired, went off and did a couple other things,
Yeah,
did endurance racing, and then
I
he
got it.
came back. What's up?
Oh, he came back.
Yeah, so he
Uh,
retired after 2018, and then he came back in 2021 with Alpine. Spent 2 years there, and then he's been at Aston Martin since 2023.
okay. So I think what we're looking for is a guy who came in and early on
Mm-hmm.
in his career, he was the dude.
Mm-hmm.
He even won a championship or two.
Mm-hmm.
The one I'm thinking about won one championship and almost won
Okay.
a second.
All right.
Um, and was good, uh, but the team around him was getting older, and so he never ever made it back even close to a championship. But when he retired, he was still revered for his career accomplishments. But honestly, it was that early part of the career when he made his name, and he didn't do anything to tarnish the name. And there were some good years in there where his teams were competitive, um, but he never sniffed a championship after those first couple of years. Is that kind of who we're talking about?
I I think so. I think
Okay, I've got
yeah.
a name for you.
The is he a Packer?
No,
Oh,
no,
all right, give it to me.
he actually wore number 33 for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking quarterbacks
Yeah,
here. Obviously, you
I
don't
kind of
have to
was
give
too,
me a
but
quarterback,
but
but I was thinking of Brett Favre.
yeah, I mean, well, Tony Dorsett
Okay.
came in, he won the Heisman Trophy, and then his rookie year, they won the Super Bowl, and then they
Mhm.
got back to the Super Bowl the next year and lost 35-31, worst day of my youth, in Super
Mhm.
Bowl 13 to the Steelers. And then the team started getting older, and in the 80s, they're just very mediocre. He was still great. He just never got back anywhere near a championship, and eventually the Cowboys brought in Herschel Walker, and they tried to put both of them in the backfield and couldn't do that, so they let Dorsett go to the Broncos. But he's still revered, in Cowboy history and Cowboy lore.
Mhm.
He didn't do anything to tarnish that. Brett Favre, um, Brett Favre, I think the reason I wouldn't have picked Brett Favre for this is he had a very invisible start because he was with the Falcons.
Well,
Uh,
okay. One thing I probably
Mhm.
should have mentioned is that
Yeah.
Fernando Alonso's been in F1, obviously with the exception of his little time being retired, but his rookie year was in 2001.
Okay. So he was there a long time, but
He was
Favre,
there for a
Favre
while. He was there for a good few years before he got championship material.
yeah, I mean Favre was a name nobody even knew
Hmm.
until he got traded to the Packers, and yeah, he had I want to say my memory is not as good as it used to be, but he had several seasons, maybe even three in a row, where he won NFL MVP.
Hmm.
But thankfully for my Cowboys, every time he met them in the playoffs, they had the answer to his genius,
Hmm.
and the Cowboys would knock him out. That's why Aaron Rodgers coming along after Favre, he had a thing for knocking the Cowboys out of the playoffs. So I guess
Hmm.
turnabout's fair play. Um, yeah, I mean Favre was around for a long time, and we both love Brett Favre and his game and his brashness, his
Hmm.
belief in his arm to try impossible throws because sometimes
Oh
you
yeah.
saw something spectacular. When Favre played for the Vikings in his last season, he was in the playoffs. I still remember this because I remember what I posted on Facebook. Um, he looked like he was going to lead the Vikings deep into the playoffs, but Favre was known for taking risks that other quarterbacks wouldn't because he had such a strong arm and belief in his arm.
Hmm.
And they were in the playoffs, and it came down to the last couple of minutes, and he did something that rookie second grade quarterbacks are not supposed to do. He rolled out. He was kind of, late making a decision. He was over on the right sideline, and he decided to throw across his body, because he's Brett Favre and he's got a cannon for an arm. And he throws across his body into the middle of the field.
Hmm.
As I recall, they were either in or very close to field goal range, and he just made a really bad decision, and he threw an interception, and so the Vikings lost the game. And I
Hmm.
posted on Facebook that day, so close and yet so far, you know, um, because that was kind of the story of his career. He either made a highlight reel play that made you go, how in the world did he do that? Or he made
Mhm.
kind of Tony Romo was a little bit like that, without the
True.
cannon for an arm.
Hmm.
Uh, that it's like feast or famine. So
Yeah.
uh, I don't know. I'm going to go with Dorsett, who was pretty consistently throughout his career, fairly reliable and Pro Bowl level. But his championship years were in the early days, and he never ever
Yeah.
got close again. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. All right. So we got three more to go. Give me
Hmm.
number three.
All right. Give me the NFL equivalent. Shoot, I was thinking of a couple. Which one do I want to do first? Give me the NFL equivalent of Gilles Villeneuve. Gilles Villeneuve was a very, very quick and very revered driver for how fast he was, and is seen as one of the biggest what could have been stories in Formula One, as he unfortunately, tragically lost his life during a fatal crash for qualifying during a
Mhm.
race or during a qualifying session
Yeah.
in the 1982 season. His final statistics are not going to measure up very impressively
Yep.
to any of the other greats
I
in
got it.
Formula One history.
I
Tell
got it.
me, tell me.
Easy.
Hmm.
The Raiders, number 34.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, again, I
Yeah.
was thinking of a quarterback,
Who were you thinking of?
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck was around a little bit
He was around
longer.
a little bit longer, sure, but he still
Uh,
ended up
In
retiring
my
premature. And
in my
yeah,
generation, that would have been Bo Jackson.
I
Um,
agree. Now that I think
no,
about it.
nobody had seen anything like
Hmm.
this guy. His strength, his speed. He was a man playing among boys.
Hmm.
He did things that made even the professionals go, "How did he do it?" And a very close second. It's also very similar, although he had a slightly longer career. Bo Jackson
Hmm.
dislocated his hip and never played another down of football. He played like 4 seasons. Gale Sayers had sort of the same story in that he was just, this is before my time, but I've seen all the highlight reels. Gale Sayers was doing fantastic things like scoring 6 touchdowns in a game. Um, and then blew out his knee back before they really knew how to reconstruct a knee, and went through incredible rehab and came back and was able to play a few more seasons as a kind of a shadow of what he used to be. And but at least he played 6 or 7 seasons, something like that. And
Hmm.
he was the youngest player ever inducted into the Hall of Fame because he was so over the top better than everybody else.
I believe he
bo bo,
also. I
bo
saw a
Jackson
video
didn't
about
play
this.
long enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a video about this once. He has the quickest time, like by fewest number of calendar days,
Yeah.
from the his first game of his NFL career to
Yep.
being inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean Gale Sayers. I only know him as legend, and of course they made
Hmm.
the movie Brian song,
Hmm.
about him and his fullback who died early of leukemia, I believe it was, and yeah. So for my generation, God, that's easy. That's Bo Jackson. Everybody was like, "What if?" What if this dude had not? Because from the time he was 9 years old, I actually saw just the other day one of those little clips that comes up on your Facebook feed, and I go, "Hey, look, someone's interviewing Bo Jackson," and they were asking him when he knew that he was special, and he said he didn't even hesitate. He said, "When I was 9 years old," because Bo was also a professional baseball player who made the All Star game and hit monstrous home runs. I mean, this guy was just a freak of nature.
Hmm.
And his story, just to summarize it, he said he was 9 years old, and there was some adult baseball or softball league, whatever it was, and they needed a catcher because their catcher had gotten injured or sick or something. Bo was 9, and at the time he had on his little league team been practicing as a catcher, and so they needed somebody desperately to continue the game, and Bo was there, and he said, "I'll do it," and so they said, "Fine, come down and play catcher." and he's playing against grown men in their 20s, and he's 9 years old. So he's playing catcher, and of course, you know what the adults are going to do. They're going to go to a 9-year-old playing catcher. So of course they're going to try and steal a base. Well, every time they tried to steal a base, Bo would throw him out at second base from his knees,
Mm.
right? Because he was already a freak. And then later on in that same first game, he hit a home run against the 20-year-old, as a 9-year-old. So yeah, Bo was a freak, and we'll just never know what he could have done.
Yeah.
So all right, so that's three. Give me two more.
All right. Give me the NFL equivalent of Pierre Gasly. Gasly has been in Formula One since I want to say 2019. He originally joined in as part of the Red Bull program. He drove for the Red Bull B team. It was called Toro Rosso at the time. Got called up to be Max Verstappen's teammate at Red Bull for a little bit, but I'm trying to remember the order. I believe he got called up first. Then he wasn't doing the job well enough, and so he got brought back down to Toro Rosso, and they promoted Alex Albon, who eventually would go on to get replaced and whatnot. Anyway, but then after realizing that Red Bull was not going to be his forever home to really build his legacy, he would always just kind of be a background guy. He moved away and joined the Alpine team in 2023, and he's been there ever since. He's their main driver now. But so he's always kind of been in the background, always seen as a good talent, but just not one of the top tier drivers. Although he did have his moment in the sun in 2020 when he won the Italian Grand Prix due to some shenanigans with a red flag. But he had his moment in the sun. No one can deny that.
Huh. So if I'm understanding right, what we're looking for is a player who
Who's
was
kind of mid tier, not really seen as one of the best, but not really seen as just flat out bad. But he had his moment in the sun. Not necessarily to win a championship, but kind of proved his worth in a way.
like when he moved to a different place, he at least became the guy. Whereas
He's the
in
guy
the
now, but he actually won his only victory as a part of the Red Bull B team.
okay,
So
so
I
a
guess
guy,
to put it more
yeah,
concisely, I want someone who is kind of a mid tier talent, not seen as a top dog, but not a bottom feeder either.
yeah,
Um, had one shining moment one
yeah,
day, and
yeah,
then now he's a little older and has moved to another team where he has established himself more and is now the top dog within that team, but is still kind of a mid
got
tier
it,
in the
got
grand
it,
scheme of the league.
got it.
All right.
Rich Gannon.
Okay.
Rich Gannon was a quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings,
Mm-hmm.
like decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Rich Gannon was a good quarterback. There was nothing special about him, as far as he was not setting the league on fire or anything. I mean, the Vikings were winning games and all of that. And I don't even remember how long he was with the Vikings, but he was a respected quarterback. And then I guess his contract ran out, and the Vikings decided to go younger. And so he wound up on the Raiders.
Okay.
When he got to the Raiders, he became the NFL MVP.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't win a championship with them, but he suddenly, it's just their offensive scheme, I guess, fit his skill set so well that you can't say he resurrected his career because it was never dead. It was just very, yeah, you know. It was very good, but it was never great. But he had a couple of years there, after he became the guy, where he was making Pro Bowls and All Pro, and won NFL MVP one year. Um, so and he's sort of a forgotten name in history. He's never going to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Um, but the people who saw him come to life. Somebody lit his candle in a way it had never been lit before
Mm.
because of the offensive scheme. I think that's who comes to mind.
Okay,
Kind of an obscure name to pull out of my brain, but
sure. No, I
yeah,
like it.
yeah.
Well, we're gonna go from obscure to probably a layup for you.
Okay,
I'm tossing you a lob here. Give
okay,
me the NFL equivalent of Max Verstappen.
okay.
Do you need me to kind of describe anything?
I mean, it's worthwhile to those who maybe are tuning in for the first
Sure.
time.
Max Verstappen came in to Formula One as the youngest Formula One driver ever and will probably forever hold that title because they literally changed the rules so that nobody could beat him. He was under 18 when he joined, and they made the rule that you have to be 18. So, anyway, came in 2015 with Toro Rosso, the Red Bull B team, kind of the development team before they promote you to the main team. Got promoted 4 races in to the 2016 season and won on his debut. And then ever since then has been the Red Bull Golden Child. Had
Yeah,
to play second fiddle to the Mercedes dominance with Lewis Hamilton for about half a decade before getting his time to really put up a fight. And boy, did he fight.
yeah.
He's taken 4 consecutive championships, and man, in the last season, 2025, he darn near did it again in a car that should have been nowhere near the top. So I'm
Okay.
looking for someone who is regarded as maybe the most talented ever in their field, although they do not quite have the long term accolades yet to stand toe to toe with those that they call the GOAT. They have the talent to back it up, and if they stay in the sport long enough, it is incredibly realistic to believe that they will one day be the greatest of all time. If they stick around long enough, they have a real shot.
Okay. So a couple of names crossed my mind,
Okay,
but there's one name that's jumping to the forefront
give it to me.
as somebody who got in at a very early age.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know though. The name I'm thinking about was a champion from the very beginning, and
Tell me.
everybody was saying if this guy can keep it all together, he's going to be regarded as the greatest ever. History showed he didn't keep it all together,
Hmm.
so he's still regarded as one of the all-time greats. But
Well, who is it?
I'm gonna kind of combine a couple of different names.
Sure.
Um,
For your last one last time, I think I
yeah,
had
yeah.
2 answers. So,
Well, I mean, the early part, what you're describing is Mike Tyson
huh?
in boxing,
Okay.
because he hit the ground running and was knocking people out in boxing, just in one round and two
Mm-hmm.
rounds, and it was just like, how is this dude doing this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as it turned out, of course, he got knocked out by Buster Douglas and got in legal trouble, and
Mm-hmm.
then sort of became a joke as a boxer, and then wound up getting actually into acting and found out he's sort of funny. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there's that part. There's another part of me that started thinking, okay, the guy that comes in with all the expectations and does have some stats to back him up to show that he lived up to, and God, I hate to admit this, but LeBron James, um, a little bit, although I still think, sorry, but the people who try to compare LeBron James and Michael Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
you're just wrong. I'm sorry. I mean, Jordan is the goat, and you LeBron, you don't lose championships if you're going to be the goat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I saw a YouTube video just while we're talking about LeBron. I saw a YouTube video the other day talking about some NBA legends and what they would have had to accomplish in
yeah,
addition to their already what they've accomplished to
yeah,
be the undisputed GOAT.
right.
And for LeBron, all the person said was to win the 2007 NBA Finals. But for Michael Jordan, he said win the 94 and 95 finals instead of being retired and 8-peat. I was like, okay, so you're saying LeBron has to just have 5 rings and be 5-5 in the finals while Michael Jordan has to 8-peat? Like that seems a little biased.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
agree that like 8-peating, that's the end of the conversation. Being 8-0 and 8 in a row is like that would never be surmounted, like that would never be beaten.
right.
But like 5-5 in the finals, like come on, man, that's not undisputed. That gives him a better case, but it like it helps his case certainly, but not undisputed. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say with Max because he hasn't finished his career.
That's
Um,
very true.
there are guys who, man, they get on a roll for a number of years, and you're just
Hmm.
going, oh, they're just so great, and then something happens,
Hmm.
and so if Max is going to be the goat. I mean, think about what happened in golf.
Hmm.
There was a number of years where everybody was already uh, saying Tiger Woods is going to break every record, right? Because I mean, and I don't even follow golf, but even I knew everybody was saying, "Oh, this guy is unbelievable," and then he started having it was it back injuries or something like that, and then legal troubles, and no one even talks about him anymore. Um,
Hmm.
so you almost have to get to the end of the story before you can truly say which athlete in what sport
Hmm.
has lived the life that Max did. But if
Hmm.
you're saying a guy who is sitting right there and is in his prime right now, I've got one
All right.
that that you could say came in, made a splash, has been pretty much ranked the number one dude, and if he doesn't mess it up, then we're talking about Patrick Mahomes.
I was waiting for you to say Patrick Mahomes. Like you're talking about Mike Tyson, you're talking about these other guys. Like it's Mahomes.
Well, I was
Like,
talking about guys who I was just kind of going through my
mm,
brain about guys who came in and
hmm.
splashed right away.
Well, I mean, Max certainly did splash. Certainly, I mean, given the context of the team he was in and the expectations that were on him, like
Yeah,
people were expecting him to fail.
yeah,
People because it's like Max, like the Verstappen name now is synonymous with speed and ruthlessness and championships.
right.
But when Max entered the sport, the Verstappen name was only his father's legacy, which was that of a not very successful driver
Yeah,
and someone that people honestly didn't really like.
yeah,
So like Max's legacy is his name's legacy now. But when he entered the sport, people were heavily criticizing him, saying, "Oh, it's too early. He's too young. He's too inexperienced." Even like into his career, people were saying, "Oh, he's too aggressive. He's what
well,
too mean." All that.
before Patrick Mahomes, nobody knew his. I
Yeah.
mean, worldwide, his dad played professional baseball,
Hmm.
and I didn't remember ever hearing about him.
Hmm.
Even though he played mostly for the Texas Rangers, I think,
Hmm.
when we're in Texas. But Patrick Mahomes is probably Max Verstappen.
Exactly, because you
Yeah,
can make the argument that Patrick Mahomes is maybe the most talented
clearly,
quarterback of all time.
yeah,
If you just look at the eye test, if you just watch Mahomes play, if you just watch Max drive, your jaw is impossible to pick up off the floor.
yeah. He's a generational talent. Yes,
Exactly.
yes,
So, 3 championships to 4 championships is comparable.
right.
Um, yeah. It's hard comparing people to Max because Max is kind of in that weird spot where he's achieved so much in such a short amount of time,
Yeah,
ultimately. But like
same as Mahomes.
hmm
Yeah,
he's achieved more in his time than Mahomes has.
yeah. Which is
That's fair to say. More
really
one
saying
extra
something.
championship, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, that
Hmm.
was a fun game to play, and
We
our
ended off last time with me giving you an F1 driver. Do you want to give me an NFL player to end off, or
Huh.
you got
Um,
one?
well, I wasn't expecting to. All right, I'll give you who is the equivalent of Jerry Rice?
Oh, okay.
Who there are people who argue that he's the GOAT wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I watched his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
He's top 5 on my
Mm-hmm.
list, but I would not actually pick him number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got the statistics because he played 20 plus years, and he made a lot of big plays and big moments,
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowls and
I
everything
got it.
else. Okay, who is
All
that?
right. All right, so we talked last time about who would be the Tom Brady, and I said that Michael Schumacher was my pick, even though Michael Schumacher's, you know, championship record has been tied, his race wins record, all his records have been broken, just as all will be throughout time. And so for Jerry Rice, I'm going to go with the man who broke those records in Lewis Hamilton because, like you just said, Jerry Rice is widely regarded as the best wide receiver of all time, just like Lewis Hamilton is widely regarded as the best F1 driver of all time. I mean, he has all the records and all that, but you can put an asterisk on them, in my opinion. Jerry Rice achieved so many of those records, as you say, due to longevity. I
Right.
believe Lewis Hamilton has as many race wins, race pole, or qualifying pole positions, and most importantly, championships because of the cars he was driving.
Okay.
That is why I say Max Verstappen is not only the most talented F1 driver of all time, not only the most talented person to ever sit behind the wheel of an automobile, he is the
Wait,
greatest.
wait, 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 wait. Next to me. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm a better driver than you.
No, you're not.
I'll take you to K1 speed sometime. We'll show.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right.
Faster, faster.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so Lewis Hamilton is the Jerry Rice of Formula
Okay.
One.
Fair enough.
Still has a legacy to stand up against anybody else's. All the respect to what he's accomplished, but he's not my first pick.
Sure. And
Mm-hmm.
by the way, when Jerry Rice was playing, there was a debate: would you take Jerry Rice or Michael Irvin? Because they
Mm-hmm.
were both in their prime.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm, with all due reverence to Jerry Rice and everything,
Mm-hmm.
I take Michael Irvin every time. Uh, Usually,
Yeah.
if you ever go back and look at the games where the Cowboys and the 49ers played against each other, I'm not saying that there weren't games where Rice outplayed Irvin, but I think that it's heavily weighted in favor of Irvin in those big games,
Mm-hmm.
that he made the big catches. And for the record, just because we're talking about who is the GOAT wide receiver,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I was a wide receiver, so I hope that this takes extra weight. I have never seen a wide receiver like Randy Moss.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that guy was just
Mm-hmm.
otherworldly. That's the most talented wide receiver that I ever saw.
Yeah.
I mean, geez,
I think.
big, tall, strong, fast. I mean, super fast.
Mm-hmm. I think we may
So,
need to do
yeah,
like a series of top fives next
yeah.
time.
Okay, yeah, we'll work
Top
that in.
five for each position. I'll do my top five F1 drivers. All
We're
that.
we're probably, though, knowing you and me, our top fives are probably going to be very similar,
Sure.
because
And certainly, I would
we've
hope
had
so.
these
Honestly.
discussions. We've had
Hmm.
these discussions many times over the years, but
Yeah.
so anyway, all right. Well,
All right. Well,
we're at
yeah,
1 hour
we're
and
well over an hour. We
yeah,
went on. Yeah. Wow.
unbelievable how much time we got talking about defensive
Hmm.
linemen.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to tune back next week for more inside the helmet stuff. We'll have some good stuff to talk about.
yeah. God bless.
Mm-hmm.